السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إن شئت سهلا. اللهم اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد. Continue with شرح أو التعليق على شرح العقيدة الطحاوية لابن أبي العز رحمه الله تعالى. We continue with this commentary or explanation. And we spoke last time about the need of man or people to the messengers and the prophets. And we said that in general al-fitrah might be capable of recognizing the outline or the major issues of Tawheed and sorrow, but there is a need for messengers and prophet to show the details, and to fulfill the purpose, as Allah Azza wa Jal did that exactly by sending messengers one after another. And people need those messengers to show them what the Tawheed means. They need those messengers to show them how to abide by the rules and the laws that Allah Azza wa Jal want from them. They need prophets to tell them about Allah Azza wa Jal, about His names and attributes and actions subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the minds, the brains or intellect, let's call it, is incapable independently of figuring this out on its own. That's not how Allah Azza wa Jal created it, even though it's the fitrah that Allah Azza wa Jal built or designed man on it. فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها. As we said, unable to know the details, right? Unable to know the details. And Allah Azza wa Jal sent those messengers to teach them. If you look in the Greeks, all they talked about is intellect. There was no place for the deen. It was all imaginations and gods for everything, God of this and God of that. Then Islam came and nullified or refuted these nadariyat and these theories or hypotheses of the Greek ulama al-falsafa that are counted as Muslims, مثل ابن سينا, Farabi, Kindi, Ibn Rushd, the grandson. These people refuted a lot of the Greek philosophies and the Greek hypothesis about the universe and about the creator or the ultimate being out there. Then it came, so the Muslims did that, and then in the 16th and 17th century started the European age of revolution or enlightenment. So you have a new hypothesis and new approaches that perhaps refuted previous ones and revived other previous ones, you know. Then the 19th century came, and now you have the man-made laws, right? Man-made laws, and as a consequence of seeing, because of the way it was going in Europe, the church proved to be the number one opponent to science, right? So there was this revolution against religion, because in fact it was the reason. It was against any science because it risked its status, and science will risk the position of the church. So that's why there was a big call for separation between, as they call it, state and religion. وبعدين يجوا then came there was a group of Muslims who were shipped to Europe to study in the French and the British universities, and came back calling for the same thing, that we should separate religion from government. القياس and the analogy is inapplicable, and Islam from the beginning was a religion of science, a religion calling to think, calling to reflect. يعني in some of my readings شوف, as much as you can claim that the West is kafir and don't believe, but you have to accept the fact that religion has influence on people's mind. As much as they can say, oh, we don't believe in this, we don't believe in that, eventually or imminently it always will have an effect. Yani to the point where European philosophers they talk about the idea how it's the heart, that when it comes to faith, it's the heart before intellect, right? It's your spirituality, it's your emotionals. That's what makes sense. That's how you receive faith rather than intellect and intelligence. And when you look at it, it sounds nice, but the fact of the matter is they're calling for that because they know that religion makes no sense. They're willing to eliminate or put aside intellect because if they want to use intelligence in proving their religion, they will fail. Religion, I mean Christianity. So look, to defend or to protect or to preserve their faith, they were willing to trash mind or intellect. So they said the heart comes before the intellect. And in other words, when it comes to faith, you don't need to think, you just accept. Because that's how it is, right? And the reason they call for that is because they know their religion cannot be proved intellectually. Trinity and death of God, and God is the Son, and Son is the Father, and Son is a human, and the Father is whatever, right? The religion makes no sense. So don't tell me that they put philosophy or they put anything before their faith. Actually, they trashed the brain and they trashed intelligence to protect their faith. Because they know once they put their faith on intellectual measures, it's gone. It makes no sense. And if you look in the religions of the world, perhaps Christianity can compete for one of the first three places in stupidity as a religion. Because it makes no sense. And we're talking about principles that the religion in itself stands on. Nobody you can't convince someone to be Christian. If you want to convince someone who's willing to think for himself, no way. Someone who wants to believe because it makes sense, Christianity will fail. Like Shia, maybe number one. Din al-Rawafid, maybe number one. Because that religion is out of whack. Right? And maybe second, Christianity. You know? And again, it's this Trinity story and all that was introduced later. The godly aspect of Jesus, what's introduced later? Jesus never talked about that. Bible never, Jesus never talked about himself in the Bible about that. Usually it's someone else talking about Jesus in the Bible. Where you want to, even if we accept the Bible, there is no place where in the Bible that Jesus himself said, I'm this or that, I'm God or not. No place. Someone else will talk about it. So when you look in that kind of enlightenment in the European side, you should understand that this is why they will say faith and emotions and comes before intellect when it comes to belief, because they know their religion makes no sense. The problem becomes for Muslims when they come back to call for the same. They chose to put intellect in the trash because they know their religion makes no sense, so they want to protect it. But when your religion makes sense, how can you apply the same rules and come back to the Muslim world and repeat exactly what they said? They applied their philosophy to their faith. You cannot just bring the same form. And today, if you want to make something, right? Like let's say, if you want to make a plate, and you contact China to make a plate, and you want this plate to be this form and this kind, the first charge they will charge you is they call it a mold. A mold. So we're gonna make a mold for you, and that mold will be specific for your product, and that costs money. And then after that, you start using that mold to make replicas, right? To produce the product. So you come later and you tell them, I want to make now this kind of plate. They tell you need to pay for a new mold. No, but use the previous mold. No, this is totally something different. For plate, from one plate to another, from one cable to another, from one charger to another, from one whatever you can think about it, the difference might be very minute, yet you still need a new mold. So now you come, and the European philosophers established a mold to fit their religion and their narrative, their situation. So you come and you with the full stupidity, you go and you bring that mold that they used for their faith and for their narratives and for their culture and for their history, and you bring just the mold to the Muslim world and say we're going to fit Islam and everything about it and culture and history into this same mold that was used in Europe. Makes no sense. And that's exactly what they tried to do. They failed, alhamdulillah. They continue to fail. So the idea is you can see how when there is no reference, there is takhabbut, right? When there is no asl and there is no origin to depend on, to rely on in your relationship, in knowing your purpose, in knowing Tawheed, there will be always oscillation and always confusion. From believing in gods to denying gods to separate between God and life, to ups and downs, because there is no asl, there is no origin. وقال بعض السلف قال من جعل دينه عرضة للهوى أكثر التنقل. They said that who exposes his deen, who exposes his deen to الهوى, to shubuhat, who exposes his deen to other than the origin, who exposes his deen to so and so said, and so things, and so theorized, and so hypothesized, or whatever, right? He will be jumping every couple of days. He has different belief. الرجل جاء إلى الإمام مالك رحمه الله تعالى. Man came to the Imam Malik, قال يلا خليني أريد أن أناظرك. Man came to the Imam Malik and he said, I want to debate you. قال بما؟ يعني debate me in what? قال in the deen. قال then what? قال if I win, you follow me, and you follow what I call for, and if you win, I follow you. He said, then what? Like you win and I follow you, then what? He said, then we go and we debate another person, and if he wins, we follow him. If we win, he follows us. He said, so every day we will be in a different religion. I'll go away. And I have conviction in what I believe in. I don't need to debate anybody. And I'm certain I have yaqeen in what I believe in. People like you who have doubt are the ones who are going around trying to find yaqeen. Right? And obviously, stories like that should not be put in a position where someone say, "Oh, you're afraid," right? Because you hear that. I'm not into debate. I am not interested into that. I think it's waste of. And then you find some of the ulama said, stay away from this kind of books. Or even the Prophet. Let's go back to the Prophet when he saw Umar radiallahu anhu reading in some pages from the Torah, right, from the Old Testament. And he got angry. Right? And he said, if Musa was here today, he will have no option but to follow me. Right? So someone comes at this and say, does that mean that the Prophet ﷺ was afraid for the iman of Umar that might shake from reading the Torah? Not at all. Umar. If the Prophet ﷺ told that to Umar, why some people upset if they hear a scholar or they hear Shaykh warning of certain books? Because he told Umar, and he knows the iman of Umar, and he knows the conviction and the yaqeen of Umar. Yet he was upset because he's reading in something there was no need to read it. Right? Someone who's dedicated for debating, and he's confident in his faith. He knows the shubuhat against his religion, and he knows these matters that thrown out there to make the Muslims doubt their faith, and he knows what it means, and he knows how to answer back, and he's confident in what he believes in. There's no point to be scared. And if this is something he wants to take on, debating and this, well, inshallah, it's good. But someone who's not solid enough in his religion, he doesn't have solidity in his conviction, in his aqeedah. Now, obviously, you don't tell him go and read whatever, because he doesn't have the compass that can tell him this is right and this is wrong. Inna min al-bayani la sihra. Right? Some people, the way they write, they amaze you, and they can suck you in. And this is something you need to be very careful when you read. Don't ever allow yourself, as you read a book, especially, or you read whatever, don't allow yourself to melt in the personality of the author. Be careful, because then he can play with you right and left. When you want to read, and distance yourself. Read and being objective. But some are capable of sucking you in, bringing you in, so they can play with your mind. They start playing with your head. This is one of the arts of reading, and one of the cautions when you pick any book to read. Be always vigilant. Be always careful not to let the author take over your mind. Then you're lost. Blush to him. So you finish that book, now you adopt his mentality, you adopt his theories, you adopt his purpose, and then you move to the next book and you allow the next author to take you in, and now you create confusion in your head. Right? Don't. When I read and be careful not to slip. Anyway, but this is the fact that when you compare, you see that every few years, every couple of decades, every century or so, you find new mentalities coming in the picture, and people are trying to search. And Allah Azza wa Jal, the way He created people, He created them in a way that they have curiosity. They're curious. They wanna know. They wanna find. And as long as they're not comfortable, as long as what they believe in is not Rabbani and is not coming from Allah Azza wa Jal, the soul will never rest. Their minds will never rest. Because there is something in their fitrah, and that is what the fitrah is. There's something in them that keeps pushing them. It's not. That's not what it is. It doesn't sound right. So they keep searching and they keep digging, and people come after them. Some of them adopt their theories, and some of them question it. Some of them take different approach, different perspective. They look at things differently from their teacher, and on, looking for the truth. Okay? That's why there was a necessity for Allah Azza wa Jal to send prophets and to send messengers. And this is the only way the truth can be known. This is the only way the truth can be known in its details, is by al-wahy, by revelation. Nothing else. Nothing else. Right? يقول الله عز وجل ما أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض ولا خلق أنفسهم وما كنت متخذ المضلين عضدا. Allah Azza wa Jal says, I did not give them the opportunity to witness the creation of the heavens and the earth. And I did not give them the opportunity to witness the creation of themselves. The creation of Adam. Did anybody saw the creation of Adam and see the creation of Adam? Did anyone see the creation of the heavens and the earth when the heavens and the earth were created before man? True? So for man to come and be arrogant enough to say, oh, this is how the first man came about. This is how life started. Right? They start talking about evolution, and they start talking about Big Bang, and you can see the confusion. And at the end of the day, it's all theories. Nothing facts. Nobody going to say this is a fact. And why they cannot say it's a fact? Because for them, following, as we said previously, it's following the manhaj al-ilmi scientific method. It has to be witnessed. They have to see it in the lab. Right? They can't do that. How can they see something that happened already? How can they claim that they're seeing the beginning of man? And a lot of people, they come and they talk about, for example, evolution, right? And how we came from apes and how we came from monkeys and all that, right? Well, you want to believe that? That's your choice. It's a free country. You can believe in whatever. You came from pigs. You came from apes. That's your problem. But you know what? Many people don't talk about where apes came from. طيب احنا our grandparents were apes. كانوا سعادين, right? قرود وسعادين وmonkeys, right? But where they came from? Nobody talks about that. Who human wants to be called after an ape, or want to be called after after Adam? You know. في واحد جاء إلى أحد من سفيان الثوري or something, فهي knocked on the door. فهي سفيان الثوري asked, who's it? قال أنا, it's me. He said, he repeated, who is it? قال أنا أحد أبناء آدم, يعني من أبناء آدم, one of the children of Adam, يعني the lineage of Adam. So he opened the door and he hugged him and kissed him. He said, Alhamdulillah, I didn't know that there was someone still alive from the children of Adam. You know, like being sarcastic, like children of Adam. Well, we're all children of Adam, you know. Because عباد Allah, the idea is it's all theories, nothing proved, right? But you see attachment to those. It's the way you translate that or you explain that, very simple. people gonna fight for this. You find people fighting for the theory of evolution and the theory of Big Bang. They fight for it because they're trying to attach their belief to something. They're trying to believe in something. Don't ever believe that someone tells you, I don't believe in anything. That's bogus. The way we are created, the way a human being is, has and must believe in something. There is no such thing as I don't believe in anything. This is the biggest lie. Okay? So when you hear him or you see him fighting for evolution, for this, because his system mandates that he believes in something. So he's going to attach himself to this because he's arrogant enough to accept something else. And those who are reasonable and they humble themselves, they will realize that this is the truth. This is what makes sense. Don't come and tell me this is how the world started. You weren't there. That's very simple. You were not there. This is how the first man came out. You were not there. And you can say whatever you want, but you're going to coerce me to believe that this is how it was. Why should I believe that when I didn't see it? And at the end of the day, you tell me that only when I come to talk to you about God, you tell me where is he? We don't see him. Well, why should I believe you when you tell me that a couple of carbons hit each other and suddenly Big Bang and the universe is in existence? You tell me that the first creation started unicellular, one cell, and started replicating and dividing and multiplying, and suddenly we have all these kinds of creations and all these kinds. This is. Did you see it? No. Then you don't argue with me when I tell you God exists. Because if we're going to talk logic and intellect, you have to accept that God exists. Because it's a solution for all these arguments. Wallahi ya akhwa, all these, you hear the sciences, the humanities, psychology, philosophy, all these, put all these together. Believing in God will eliminate all that. You find books and books written about proving a point that is, just common sense says it makes no sense. But they will write books, and you find scholars who are adopting this, and just ask a 5 years old, he will tell you this makes no sense. But he has to fight and will write and write and write, trying to prove it. To a point where they will fight to prove, you have philosophers who adopted the idea that they fight so hard to prove the existence of النقيضين. The existence of opposites. What they mean by that, in this I'm translating, most of my reading is in Arabic, so when I read philosophy it's in Arabic, so I try to translate it to the closest. But anyway, so بالمثل تتضح الفكرة. To prove that you're here and you're not here can be logical. I'm either here or not here. Because being here and not being here, those are opposites. And opposites cannot coexist, cannot exist at the same moment. So you have philosophers who adopted the idea that, no, it can. Overwrite and try to prove, and then you read all that and then you say, you did not convince me. Because it makes no sense. Right? يجي مثلا فكرة the sequence, تسلسل. Logically, this idea makes no sense. But you'll find philosophers who will fight for it, and thinkers who will try to prove it. But it can't. When they talk about the creation. For example, you want to prove that God exists. Right? So they come and they tell you the world. This world that we live in exists or doesn't exist. طبعا their school of thought, they say there's not, all this is delusion. There's nothing all we can see in the world is nothing but imaginations our brains produce. They call it Hispaniya and whatever, وحدة الوجود, but that's not the issue. But let's say, so you come and you say, this world exists, right? Say, yeah. Is the existence of this world a must or possible? Wajib or mumkin? Yani, in other words, the existence of this world is a must. Yani, its existence is something that there is no other option but to exist, or its existence was probable. Could have, it's existing, but was there a chance that it would not be existing? Which one? Must. It's existing. But is it possible that it did not exist? Why not?
It didn't exist before.
Did the world exist all the time? This earth and people, was there a moment that none of us was alive? That no man was alive? That there was no earth and no heavens and no earth? So the fact that at one moment, at one point, it did not exist makes its existence probable. Because if it must exist, then that means it must never be non-existent. Right? Make sense? The fact that at one point it did not exist, that makes it unnecessary that must exist. Okay? But you approach it from that. So he tells you problem. Now, when it did not exist, so we all agree that at one point there was no life. Even those scientists, and they tell you evolution, at one point they tell you there was no life, and then something happened, right? So they admit that at one point it did not exist. So the fact it did not exist at one point makes its existence not to be a must. Okay? Now you take a bit further, right? When its existence happened, how did it happen? When this earth and this life started existing, where did it come from? It has to have illah, it has to have a reason that it became in existence. It's a must. Now there is something that must have created this. Something must have been the reason for the existence of this when it was not supposed, or it was not a must to exist. Someone chose that it's time to exist. Something chose, some events chose that it's time for this thing, that it does not have to exist, now it needs to exist. Right? So then they tell you that's something. Another thing that was not existent and started existing. Fine. Like that thing, when it started existing, who made it exist? Right? So you start creating, this is sequence. So people who want to deny God, they're going to start keep going. Keep going to infinity. And going to infinity is nonsense. Nonsense in itself. For example, to make it simpler, you have two people one person standing, and he needs another person to lean on him, to lean on him to stay standing. And the next guy, the same thing, needs to lean on the second guy, and the fourth guy on the third guy, and you're gonna hit a point. You're gonna hit a point where the last one, because they first leaning on the second, and second on third, and third on fourth. You're gonna hit a point at the end. The last one needs something to lean on, because if he has nothing to lean on, everybody gonna fall. So if you're gonna say if infinity keeps going, then it makes no sense that you're gonna keep going. Then them not standing, it becomes delusional for you to believe that they're all gonna be standing when it keeps going to infinity, because you're not accepting that there is one at the end who's gonna have perhaps a wall to lean against, so he can keep everybody. You understand? You cannot keep saying next guy. Someone at the end has to be leaning against something for the whole population to be leaning against each other, staying in place. But just saying, no, it's going to keep going, unacceptable. If it keeps going, how come they're still standing? This is how they use it. This is how just like putting a zero and then another zero. If you put 1, now it has a value. But you say, I'm going to put another zero and another zero, and you keep putting zeros to infinity. It's still zero. It has no worth. All right? Okay. So the idea is, at the end, when they come to claim that God exists, or this is how the world came about, and when they when they come to say that this is how life started, and when it comes to say that this is how first man was, and this is the evolution or the stages he started going through, Allah Azza wa Jal answers them in one ayah. He said, I did not make them witness the creation of the heaven or the earth or the creation of themselves. End of the story. So in other words, there is no point to believe in any of them. You're not mandated to believe in any of them, because nobody witnessed it using their argument, right? Nobody witnessed the first creation. Nobody was there to witness the creation of the heavens and the earth to claim that they figured it out. And they have no audacity to come and claim these are facts, because things are changing. So the only way that these things can be acceptable is revelation. That's the bottom line. And that's why Allah Azza wa Jal sends the prophets and sends the messengers and sends the books and sends with them the miracles to prove that. Alright? So from that, as we had mentioned before, we need to, our duty, we need نعرف الله, that's it, tawheed. We need to know Allah, right? We need to know what brings us to Allah, right? What brings us to Allah's pleasure, what helps us to attain Allah's satisfaction, right? And that is Sharia, right? That's al-fiqh, all right? That is the jurisdiction, that is the laws of Islam. And third, we need to learn about the consequence. We need to learn about the consequence. I knew Allah and I followed the way He chose and the laws He chose for me. What's next? This is going to happen this way or that way. I chose to deny Allah, I chose not to follow His laws. What's the consequence? So these are the duties of a Muslim. These are the obligations of a Muslim. To know his Lord and about Him, to know the way that delivers him to please Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the third thing is to know the consequence, what comes out of that. Now knowing the consequence is not ibadah in itself. When we say the consequence, we're talking about the dar al-akhir, talking about the hereafter, Jannah or Nar, hellfire or paradise. Those are the consequences. Those are the two consequences. Right? Now just learning about them is not ibadah. Believing in them is. Alright? Believing in them is. So as much as you learn about Al-Qiyamah or Day of Judgment and this and that, that's knowledge, that's khabar. You're being informed. And that is only through revelation. There's no place for ijtihad. There is no place to say it could be this, it could be that, it might be like this, it might be like that, it sounds to be like that. When it comes to al-ghayb and to the unseen, either Allah says, the Prophet says, you close it there. When you close it there, you protect yourself. If we open it, you will see, and we will talk about it, how a lot of deviant groups deviated when they tried to use their intellect to figure out the unseen. They thought they can use their imaginations and their intelligence. They were very intelligent people. But as we have already established, intelligence is incapable of figuring out the future. Not the future, the unseen, al-ghayb. Allah did not create it to be capable to do so. As much as intelligent a person could be, if he's standing in front of a wall, he has no idea what's going on behind that wall. Right? Have you ever seen someone, I'm so intelligent that I can stand in front of a dead wall and tell you what's in the other side? It's not a sign of intelligence anyway. You understand? Okay. So if this is something that just between him and that thing, a wall, 5 inches, 6 inches thick. How can you accept that his intelligence allows him or give him the ability to know about al-ghayb, to know about the unseen, to know about al-akhirah, to know about al-jannah, no way. And again, to repeat that, that's why it's mandatory for people to be sent to them prophets and messengers and books. All right? يقول لهذا قال ولهذا سمى الله ما أنزله على رسوله روحا. Right? He said, and this is why Allah Azza wa Jal calls the Quran that He sent to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم روحا. And قال لتوقف الحياة الحقيقية عليه, because real life depended on it. And you know, ruh, if we want to translate it into English, we say soul, right? Soul, the spirit, whatever. No, we accept that there's jasad and there's ruh, right? We accept the components that make a human being, his body and his ruh. If the ruh is left or taken out of the body, then the body is rendered dead. Right? This is what we believe. There is something called ruh, might be called nafs, soul, spirit, whatever. Right? And the ulama have long debate about the difference between a ruh and nafs, and what gets punished, what gets not. This is not the issue here. But the point is, there's physical part and there is the spirit part. فالله عز وجل here Ibn Abil Izz rahimahullah, he says that's why Allah, when he talked about knowing Allah and knowing the way that brings to him and knowing how He's pleased and taking the he said, and this is why Allah, and the need to send messengers, he said this is why Allah Azza wa Jal calls what He sent to His messenger ruh, because real life is dependent on it. Now you can see difference in perspective. When hospitals will consider someone alive because he's breathing and his heart is beating, when people will consider someone alive because he's moving, Allah tells you otherwise. Allah says what? He said, you're alive as long as you have the Quran. Other than that, شو الله قال؟ قال حطها بجهنم. غير كذا حطها بجهنم. ولقد ذرأنا لجهنم كثيرا من الجن والإنس. And we have created for Jahannam. شوف الله said. And we have created Allah for Jahannam. You think about it, what's for Jahannam? What Jahannam needs? Fuel. We have created for Jahannam a lot of al-jinn wal-ins. So they're alive. They're alive according to their beat and their impulse, right? But to Allah they're not. Allah Azza wa Jal says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم. طبعا هو بيحكي مع أموات. Allah says, oh you who believe, right? Respond to Allah and His Messenger when they invite you to that which gives you life. If they're dead, how can they hear? So So the real life, the real meaning of life is not about more movement or about heart beating. The real meaning of life, when it comes to Allah Azza wa Jal, real meaning of life is how much Quran you got. What's the role of the Quran in your life? How much connection with Allah you have. That's the meaning of life. Other than that, it's just bodies, robots moving around, doing their job, and that's it. They're preparing themselves to be the fuel for hellfire. واتقوا النار التي وقودها الناس والحجارة وقودها الناس والحجارة. And beware of a hellfire, the fuel of it, people and rocks. People and rocks. Allah Azza wa Jal comparing people and rocks, putting them together. Wow al-atf. Yalla, bring them together. People and rocks. فأنت as a human being, you have no worth without Allah, without the Aqeedah, without conviction, without the Quran specifically. So that's why he said, that's why Allah called the Quran Ruh. قال ونورا لتوقف الهداية عليه. And he also calls it light, because guidance is dependent on it. This world is dark. This world has this is not, we think this is, if we pay electrical bills, we got lights. That's a light, and there is the light of the hearts. Right? The light of the hearts. Hearts will be dark as long as they don't have that light. What kind of light? LED? No. The only light that the hearts can lighten the hearts is the Quran. That's why Allah calls it Nur. There is no guidance without the Quran. Nobody is guided without the Quran. So nobody can claim that he's on guidance without the Quran. Nobody. He can say that all day long. When I contacted, to show you that where we are and why this is important, right? When I contacted an imam of a masjid, and I told him, you're not worried? He shared a video that he's in a church on Sunday, interfaith and all that, and a service. He's joining them for a service, and music, the band playing music, and in a church. I said, I'm afraid you would have died there. I know that video is recorded, and he shared it, and I'm watching, and I'm afraid he's gonna drop dead in there. How he gonna answer to Allah? So part of his reply was, those people don't believe that Jesus is Son of God. Those people muwahhidin. Those people on Tawheed. They don't believe in Jesus, Son of God, or they don't say any of that. They're on Tawheed. Who's there Tawheed without the Quran? After the revelation of the Quran, is there Tawheed without the Quran? When you hear that from someone who memorized the whole Quran, right there. Allah Azza wa Jal calls this Quran life, Ruh, soul. Calls this Quran light, Nur, because there's no hidayah without it. يلقي الروح من أمره على من يشاء من عباده كذلك أوحينا إليك روحا من أمرنا ما كنت تدري ما الكتاب ولا الإيمان ولكن جعلناه نورا نهدي به من نشاء من عبادنا وإنك لتهدي صراطا مستقيم. This is what we sent to you, Nur. Nur, to guide whomever we choose. Alright? فقال فلا روح إلا فيما جاء به الرسول ولا نور إلا في الاستضاءة به. He said there is no ruh except with what the messengers came with. And there is no guidance without the light that the prophets were sent with. وَسَمَّاهُ الشِّفَاء, and he calls it الشِّفاء, cure. قال تعالى قُلْ هُوَ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا هُدًى وَشِفَاء. فهو وإن كان هدى وشفاء مطلقا لكن لما كان المنتفع بذلك هم المؤمنون خصوا بالذكر. Then he said Allah calls it cure, the Quran. And then he quotes the ayah from Surah Fussilat. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, say to the prophets and tell them that this Quran is guidance and cure for the believers. Someone from that might understand, oh, so then it's not guidance and cure for the disbelievers. No, it's not. Actually, the Quran could be a reason to misguide people even more. The Quran. Right? The Quran could be a reason, the way it's cure and guidance for believers. It could be disease and misguidance for the disbelievers. The way it's a cure for some, it could be opposite of that to others. Someone says, how can you say that? Very simple. Someone decide to pick up the Quran, to search for mistakes in the Quran. And someone picks up the Quran. Someone picks up the Quran to find the truth. He who picked it up to find mistakes, his hawa and his shaitan will make him find them. There are none, but he will be fooled to believe that such thing and such thing are contradictions and mistakes. So it misguides him more. Makes him more convinced in what he believes. And someone who picks the Quran looking for the truth, and Allah Azza wa Jal will guide his heart, then that Quran was light and guidance and cure. Right? So when you come and you read يهدي من يشاء ويضل من يشاء يضل من يشاء ويهدي من يشاء إنك لا تهدي من أحببت لكن الله يهدي من يشاء. This is how it is. Don't get confused that Allah says He guides whomever He wants and He misguides whomever He wants. How is that fair? La 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 la. You got it wrong. And it's not accurate those who say من يشاء يشاء تعود على من تعود على من على العبد. This is a weak tafsir. And they can't say يهدي من يشاء, meaning that whomever wants to be guided will be guided. This is not the correct meaning. وإن كان يحتمل, and it might be, even if it could be possible, but this is not the meaning. يهدي من يشاء من تعود على من على الله عز وجل. الله يهدي من يشاء والله يضل من يشاء. Allah guides whomever Allah wants, not Allah guides whomever He wants to be guided. هذا الهداية من الله عز وجل. But with that said, and accepting the fact that Allah عز وجل is just and عدل, وهذا ما أظن العدل من أسماء الله ثابت, but to accept that Allah just and fair, right, and does not oppress anybody, right, that's a must for a believer. So any understanding of the ayat that could contradict with that understanding is wrong. So when you can't say, how can Allah choose misguidance for them and then throw them in the hellfire? How is that fair? It's not fair. This is not fair. So the fact that it's not fair, then it's not going to happen that way. Then my understanding is wrong. Because you can question one of two things. You either question the ayah, the authenticity of the ayah, or you question your understanding. The authenticity is proved. It's mutawatir, nobody can say it's not true. So now the problem is with your understanding. But when Allah says He guides whomever, just like the example I gave you, someone grabbed the Quran to find fallacies in it, and someone grabbed the Quran to find prophecies. انت ايش بدك؟ ونفس وما سواها فلما فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها. Allah Azza wa Jal clearly in the Quran makes straightforward proclamation that and I give every one of you the choice. I give every one of you the choice. You want the Quran to guide you or you want the Quran to misguide you? You choose for yourself. And then I will hold you accountable. Amma the Mashiach of Allah, the big umbrella, nobody chooses without the control of Allah Azza wa Jal. Be careful with that. That's how you understand things. Alright, so we'll stop here inshallah and continue next time. كانت العلم بقية. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.